facility. So, and they would celebrate Diwali and Ramzan, and HR would sponsor them to celebrate all these festivals. So we thought, hey, we're Christians, and why don't we just ask them, like, hey, can we do something for Christmas? And we can maybe invite a gospel band to come and, maybe sing or share the gospel. So we thought we'll try to do something like that. And so we went and asked HR for permission, and they said, okay, you guys can celebrate Christmas. So it sounded like, okay, they were giving us permission, saying Christian kids who can't go home for Christmas want to celebrate Christmas. So that's how it was. They took it that way, and we were arranging for this thing. But one thing that they had said was, though they give a big budget for Ramzan celebrations and Diwali, they said we don't have enough money for Christmas celebration. So they refused to give us any money. So we were trying to pull in our money. So we had 3 days where we had small games and stuff, where we would give away prizes and all that. And then we invited them all to a final musical evening where we had a concert, and we had a gospel band that was going to sing gospel songs and share the gospel, and and we were going to give away like Bibles and tracts over there. So as we were preparing for this, because we did not have a big budget, they did not give us any money, so we were trying to, so I was making decorations in my room. So I was trying to make a lot of Christmas decor at my room in the training center. So, and one of the girls out of the 10,000 people who get trained, one girl heard about, hey, somebody's making decorations, and she didn't even know it was for Christmas. She just heard somebody's making crafts in her room. So she came knocking on my door, and she said, hey, I heard you're making craft, and I love craft. And I mean, it was like, God sent the angel coming to help me. And so she and I spent like the next weekend sitting and making decorations. And as I started talking to her, I realized her name was Namita, and she was from a Hindu family. And so we would just keep talking, and we pretty much started spending that was just the last week of our training, and we had a final exam which would decide if we were in the company or not. But we just pretty much spent the whole of that last week together. We would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. And the more I started talking to her, I started getting to know her, and she was there at the musical event. She was there helping us with all of that. And then at the end of the training, towards the end, almost like the last 2 days, when we were just walking and talking, and I asked her about her family, and then she shared that her mom had passed away when she was in 5th grade, and her stepmom was there, and she didn't really want to talk about it, and so I just knew she was just disturbed. So, but it was just too late. I was just like, okay, maybe I just have one more day with her. So I didn't have anything. I just gave my Bible. I took my Bible. I struck off my name, and I wrote it to her, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't have a new one, but would you like to have my Bible? And I gave her my Bible, and asked her, for vacations, where would she go? Because she was getting placed in Trivandrum, and I was getting placed in Chennai, so we'd go our different ways. So I asked her, what are you going to do for your vacations? Would you like to come to my place? And she agreed. So we said goodbye on December 31st, and then after that, it was pretty much January 26th, which is India's Republic Day. We have a long weekend. She was coming for every long weekend. She would travel from Trivandrum to Chennai, come to my place. Her birthday, she was at my place. My birthday, she was at my place. Easter weekend. So she would keep coming, and then every time she came home, in my family would have family prayer, and we try to talk. And then she was reading the Bible. She loves reading, so she was like, I'm reading the Bible. And each time she comes, she'd keep asking me these questions. And to cut the long story short, this was in 2010. December, that I gave her the Bible. And you won't believe, in 2 years, after a year, she called me up one day and she said, I think I'm ready to be a Christian. And then she wanted to take baptism, and I went and introduced her to one of the, someone who was working among college students. I introduced her to this girl over there, and then she was able to mentor her and take things forward. She got baptized, but she invited her dad for her baptism. She tried conveying to her dad, and her dad disowned her. He said, he tried convincing her out of Christianity, but she was so strong. She said, God is my father, and her dad said no, and he threatened to do a lot of stuff if she went ahead with baptism, but she still went ahead with her baptism. And then she even got married last year to a very good Christian believing guy, and her family did not come for it. And then now she's come into full-time ministry. When I say the journey, it all started with just those small conversations. And I take no credit for her faith in the Lord, because I've seen how God brought her. So I was like, I mean, when you're prepared to share the gospel. Now sometimes when I think about it, if I had just said a goodbye, wow, she just came to help me with craft, God could have still done, but then I would have probably missed out on seeing a wonderful life unfold in front of my eyes. And so those are small opportunities that God gives you. Are we going to be prepared? So I'm just going to quickly tell you some methods in which you can share the gospel. So we saw about, Billy Graham's style of open air giving tracts. So when it comes to personal evangelism, what do you think are some ways in which, or like some of you said you've shared the gospel. So I'll probably start with you all. So how did you share the gospel? Okay, at school lunch with friends?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it was just over a casual conversation, kind of. Okay.
I was on the bus and I was sitting next to this Hindu kid.
Oh.
And he was just telling me about how he has so much doubts in like his religion.
Mm-hmm.
He's asking me, do I have any doubts or anything like that in mine? And I'm like, no, because faith is like can overcome me. So I don't know, like the assurance of Jesus Christ will be in there. It's like it's so real.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told him that, and I feel like he's still like really confused.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I haven't really talked to him for a pretty long time, but
Okay. But you tried to share.
Yeah.
That was like a very short, on a bus ride you took the opportunity to share. Anyone else want to tell about how you shared the gospel, or? Okay, so I'll just quickly give you some methods. So the first one that I had was, just telling the gospel. And so I'll just quickly tell you what the method is and what are some strengths and weaknesses of each method. So the first one is just proclamation. I know people would probably call it the crazy way. Like, you just go pick a random person and say, hey, what would you, like, I just see Emily on the street and I'm like, where would you go if you died tonight? And you'd sometimes see, people holding placards saying like, heaven is for real, and things like that. And most times they're just written off as, oh, crazy people, they don't know what they're doing. But that is their way of doing it. And sometimes when you go to Anand Bazaar or at DTS, we do these evangelism boot camps where we just go into college campuses like SMU, and we just pick a student that's just walking alone, and we'd be like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Would you like to talk? And then ask them, do you know about God? And, just a random conversation. So what do you think are some of the strengths of this type of evangelism? Or I'm sure a lot of weaknesses are popping up in your mind. You can maybe share the weaknesses first. Like, what do you think will probably not go right in this method?
Maybe you don't want to answer a question like right away, and you're like the only person that can ask.
Okay, yeah. Maybe they ask you a very smart question, and you're like stuck there. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you could be like, I don't know what to say for this particular question. Yeah. Any other weakness that you can think of?
Or like the stereotypes they have of Christians.
Yeah. They could easily stereotype you, and maybe not even talk to you the next time if they were just too weirded out by the way you approach them out, right? So this one good thing is, if you are actually going and meeting someone just like that and talking, you probably have it prepared well in your mind. So the good thing is, it'll help you to articulate a very good, precise, like you get 2 minutes with this person, you should be able to share the gospel. So it'll give you a good, concise way of sharing the gospel. But there are downsides to it that, it may not connect well with everyone. Not everyone might be like, some people would be like, hey, I don't want to talk about God right now, and you don't know what they're going through. So that's a weakness. But we see in the Bible, if you read Acts chapter 3, what happens? Does anyone know what happens in Acts chapter 3? Who stands up and then just, it's almost like, the Bible, I can just imagine, there's just this whole commotion, and then here's this guy stands up, takes the mic and goes, hey guys, quiet down. I can explain. And he starts and shares the gospel. Do you know who I'm talking about? Acts chapter 3. Do you know what happens in Acts chapter 1 and 2? Okay. Who?
Sarah got
Did you say something?
Say something.
Paul. A little close. Paul gets converted in chapter 9, so it's a little before Paul. But yeah, Peter. So Jesus is gone, and they're all like confused, and then Peter. So that's an example from the Bible. And the second method is an intellectual way of sharing the gospel. So does anyone know what I'm talking about when we say intellectual?
Like,
Was it?
like classes or something like that?
Yeah, I mean it could be a classes. It's also like intellectual exchanges. Like maybe you have an atheist friend, or maybe you have some friends who ask these like smart questions. How do you and which your class especially has been dealing with this the last couple of years now. You've been talking about how do you tackle these tough questions? How do you tackle these tough questions? So you're prepared with answers, not just from the Bible. You also have all these you also know science, and you're also trying to. So there are some people to whom you need to give all these answers for them to even listen to you and not just write you off as some crazy person who's just believing in one book. So so you need to be prepared intellectually also. And Rohan has been doing that in your class, and I'd encourage the middle schoolers also to try and start thinking about, okay, what are some questions that they would ask me, which I was surprised when I substituted for Ajahn Chajan's class. One of the kids in his class came and told me, Ajahn Chajan told me to share the gospel, so I went and told this kid in my class, and this kid told me, all you're saying is false, Jesus is not the true God, and I didn't know what to say to him. And I was like, this kid actually went and shared the gospel with a friend, and they asked these questions. So Ajahn Chajan's class, you're all much older than Ajahn Chajan's kids. So, I'm sure if you share the gospel too, your class kids are also going to ask you some tough questions, but you don't have to deal with them alone. You can always say, hey, I don't know that, but I can ask someone and get back to you. So you can come and ask all these great people here. You can come and ask them, and they'd love to help you with that. So again, the good thing about this is some people who are intellectually wired, they will actually sit and listen to you when you have intellectual arguments for your faith. But the negative is you can start depending too much on just the intellectual argument. In the end, like we said, there is an element of faith that is involved in a person's life's transformation, and whose work is involved in salvation. Yeah, God's work is involved. So sometimes we can just depend too much on our own intellectual. So just couple more methods. One is the relational one that Sarah was talking about. How many of you have friends who are non-believers? He doesn't have any friends? Okay, all of us have friends. All of us have friends who are non-believers. And now, do you all really care about your friends? We all care about our friends. We all want to look out for them. We want to help them, and that's how we probably became friends. But we also want them. If you really are a true friend, you should also share the gospel with them. You should give them that's the best gift that you can give your friend. This gift of sharing the gospel with this person. But how do you get to doing it? It's good that you've built a relationship with this person, but sometimes because we built a relationship, it can become hard. You don't want to risk the friendship by talking about Jesus. But then these relationships that you have, look out for opportunities. And how do you think you can, what are some opportunities that you think you might get when you are having a conversation with friends? Like Sarah, do you want to talk about how you shared with your Muslim friend?
Well, we were just kind of discussing why she believed what she believed versus what I believed. It didn't really go too far. I told her about the whole Jesus died on the cross for us, and then she just immediately went to the part where Jesus is the prophet and Muhammad is the one. And I was probably 13, so I didn't have much to say.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but in a discussion where someone's talking about, hey, what do you believe, or why do you believe in what you believe? You were able to, use that. So there are, keep looking out for opportunities in your conversations with your friends. You could be just doing a random science assignment, or you could just be playing games, or like today in our Sunday school we were studying about Psalm 19 in Arjun Chatin's class about how the nature tells of. So I mean, you see something beautiful, like you can look for opportunities to share about God. And among these friends, another way is sharing your testimony. That's another way of sharing the gospel. How, like, when you wanna, like, okay, you finish a math test and or whatever test, and then you can tell about how God helped you through that struggle. Or maybe someone in your family is not well, or maybe you were not keeping too well, and how God gave you the strength to go through it. So just talking about when people are easily able to talk about themselves, like we don't mind talking about ourselves, we don't mind talking about how well we can do something, or how how good I am at something. But if you can share your testimony about hey, this is what God did for me, or I'm so glad God helped me with this. Use opportunities to share about God by sharing your testimony. And again, you would have to be vulnerable to share your testimony. You have to be because again, you're putting yourself at a spot where someone can mock you, someone can ask you a tough question, someone can contradict you, like the Muslim girl contradicted you. Someone can outright call you names for believing in something that's they would say, oh, there's no proof for stuff like this. But you're putting yourself in a vulnerable spot. And are we prepared to do that? Do you think we can do at least that much for what God did for us? Okay, putting yourself, you might lose a couple friends too in the process. You might lose some friends. You might earn the hatred of some. Like Lena was talking about the Muslim girl who was not happy about her even inviting others for a Bible study. But I mean, people might put you down, but are we willing to take that shame? Because for the sake of Jesus, who took up the ultimate shame for us, for our sake on the cross. So and then Lena was talking about inviting people. In India, most brethren churches have a gospel meeting. Like most Sundays they'd have a gospel meeting in the evening. I mean, I wish we could even do something like that. Maybe once in a while the youth meeting can become an evangelistic meeting, like a gospel centered meeting where you can bring your friends. We can just have some games and just some fun, and then where in a very very interactive way the gospel is presented. Or we can, if you say, hey, I have a friend that I'd like to invite for something like this, we can arrange something like that where you invite someone. If you're not confident enough to share the gospel, you can invite them over to your house for your birthdays. Like my mom would do this always. My birthday is on March 30th, so that's like the end of the financial year, which is not the best time to throw a birthday party. But my mom would make it a point, because when I was born, my dad went through a medical crisis and was almost dying of cerebral malaria, and then I was born. So it was almost like double miracle. I was born and my dad was healed. So they named me Joy, because there was great joy, and my middle name is Kiruba, which is grace. So because of God's grace, there's just great joy in the family. So my mom would just take this opportunity. So my sisters would not really get a birthday party as such. For my birthday, my mom would invite neighbors, Hindu neighbors, and would ask me to invite my Hindu friends over. And then after all the fun and all the cake cutting, she'd be like, hey, I just want to tell something about Joy's birth. And when it's Joy's birthday, everybody's eager to know about Joy's birth. So then she would just use that opportunity to, just 5 minutes, she'd just share about that day in, way back when Joy was born. This is the situation, and then this is why we named her, because God. And just a small way. And we've had neighbors come back the next day and come and say, what you said really was encouraging. I really want to know more. And we've had neighbors who've come to know the Lord through that small way. So maybe you can plan something like that for your birthday. Something like that where you invite them over and tell them about. And I know of friends who invite friends over for their spiritual birthday, the day they accepted the Lord. They'd be like, or they just go and say, hey, today is my second birthday, the day I actually accepted the Lord, or the day I was baptized. That's a time when people will ask you a question, hey, what do you mean by a second birthday? That's a great opportunity to share the gospel. Or some of you, if you've not taken baptism yet, invite your non-Christian friends. Hey, I'm getting baptized today, and it's a special day. When you choose to take baptism, you can say, hey, it's a special day for me, and would you like to come and be a part of it? You're my friend in school. I want you to be a part of this as well. then they will ask you. That will definitely intrigue them to ask you questions of what is baptism? Why do you have to go through this? It's just like a quinceañera, like when you're 15 you do this, or what is it? And that's a good opportunity for you to share the gospel with them. So look out for opportunities. So I mean I would say even these methods and all that are the second step to it. First, all of us need to be willing to share the gospel. All of us need to understand the need to share the gospel. And once we've done that, behind all of that in the base is prayer. Support everything that you do with prayer. Start praying. I'd say start praying for one friend that does not know the Lord. Start praying for one person every day, and God will give you an opportunity to share the gospel with them.